male versus female
Yeah, the
thing.
gender wars.
Yeah, what you're actually doing is you're taking away your ability to be protected, not in a sense of misogyny or patriarchy or anything like that, in a sense of shielding your ability to grow for yourself, to manifest your own growth without the world interfering. So when you have black men that'll stop the world from getting at you, you as a black woman can help yourself to flourish in ways that is really impossible to do when it's just you alone, you against the world, girl power, rah rah, all that shit. That shit is
Who run the
fleeting.
world? Look.
That shit is fleeting when you're at home alone at night by yourself, wondering why the world is so tough on you, wondering why a black woman has to shoulder and burden so much of this alone. You don't. That was a choice. And the day you decided to remove that layer of protection that is the black man, you made that choice. So I hope this generation of women goes back to understanding that that it's not a matter of equality or whether or not we're equal. It's how we complement each other. And that complementary relationship that we have, and not just relationship as, wife and husband or kind of like that, as brother and sister, as friend, as mentor, as all of those other titles, that gives us the protection to grow without the world interfering. And I hope more young girls realize that.
You ready to give Kevin Samuels a run for his money? Okay, so you're a host on Patriot Radio 125 series, right? A conservative channel. I listen to it a lot too, right?
Good.
Yeah. How did a young black woman get to be a host on Patriot Radio? Are there any other black hosts on Patriot Radio? Oh, okay.
So there is David Webb is there, and Stacey Washington is there. So both of them have shows there as well. But I am different because I don't cover conservatism. I cover black conservatism. So my entire show is black conservatism.
I hear you
It is
calling them to
black
task sometimes
citizen.
a lot. Yeah, look.
Yeah, because we're kind of, we get put into phases where we're allowed to be black, when we're allowed to talk about black issues. So if the Democrats are pushing racism, then we can talk about race. But if they're on like Afghanistan now, then the whole black community just gets forgotten. And our issues act like they don't exist anymore. They haven't been solved. They haven't been actually even hashed out to be in a solutionary mindset. They just disappear. And then as soon as election time comes around again, then our issues come back up. We get a lot of promises, but we don't actually get any, it doesn't come to fruition, whatever we promised. So what I try to do is I want to make sure that these conversations never leave the circuit. That we're always talking about black wealth. We're always talking about black empowerment. We're always talking about black ownership, black equity, black entrepreneurship. Like those words should never leave our lexicon. They should never leave our discussion. They should always be front and center. And that's what I make sure that I do in Sunday's Corner. No one else gets to dictate our conversation or our subject. We are going to do what we think and talk about what we think is best for our community.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. First and foremost,
Look, I feel like I'm listening to Sunday's Corner right now.
Yeah, it is.
But you also work with or still do a breakdown?
Yes. So Andrew was actually one of the catalysts for why I became active in politics. He saw me and he was like, he told everybody that I was going to be the voice of what conservatism would look like in the future because it was different, it was refreshing, it was truthful, and it was authentic. And since he passed, a lot of that fire that we had in his time disappeared, and they kind of went back to the old way of we're not black, we're American, all of that BS shit that they do. But we had moved past that to where it was okay to be black. It was like no one asked me any stupid questions like that during that time period. But when he passed, it just came right back around, and we're back to the exact same conversation before.
So Breitbart, right, has a reputation among some black people, a lot of black people, for being racist. Where did that come from?
I guess you would say, if you would look at, for one thing, anybody on the right or anybody in that right space is considered racist by a group or segment of
Liberals.
Yes,
They're also liberals.
exactly. But they also don't cover the stories in a way that even I would say I am comfortable. But what I do say is they give me the space to cover the stories the way that I want.
That's the important part.
That's the important part. So, like, I have, anybody who listens to my show knows, there's no filter for it.
Absolutely.
There's no limitations on what subjects that I can cover. I don't slack back on addressing white people directly. And like, these are the things that you need to look at and you need to adjust. And I also, like, one of the things that they don't like is being called a white supremacist or being called those things. So I'm like, I'm not going to call you a white supremacist because there's nothing superior about you. Like, you're mentally, intellectually, not on my freaking level. Why would I even, like, insult myself as to call you superior in any way? And once you start talking to them like that, then it makes it different from them, because now they don't feel so defensive. Even if they get mad at me for being direct, they don't feel offended. So they're able to digest the information kind of a little bit differently and ask themselves questions, which is what I also try to do. I try to leave them with questions instead of demands or commands. So if you can leave them where they're questioning how they got to a perspective, or how they got to a solution, or how they got to a talking point or a stereotype, then I've done my job. Because now every time they come up with that talking point or they come up with that stereotype, that thought is still going to be in their mind of how the fuck did it get there in the first place. And that, to me, is the seed. And once you plant that seed, it becomes really impossible for them to go back to the old way. And I think that that's what I've learned more than anything, is if they can be taught as well. And many don't even know they've been indoctrinated. They don't understand, like, they think that we are the indoctrinated ones. You can tell them, no, you have some indoctrination, like, you didn't escape it either. And once they start to get to see that and start to realize the history that they weren't taught, the perspectives that they weren't shown, the underlining conditions in the culture, like so many things, then they start to look at it differently. But they are not offered that from black conservatives and black Republicans. You know what I'm saying? No. The people that are acceptable, it's not that they don't want to rock the boat. I think that they're authentically who they are. They just don't like black people. And it's okay. Like, be good with that. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like my people. You don't have to like my community. But what you're not going to do is then come behind not liking me, not liking my people, not liking my community, and then trying to tell us what is best for us, or try to dictate how we move, or try to put some kind of stereotype or talking point on us, when it's not a matter of tough love, as they try to phrase it, because there's no love involved at all. It is, you want us to become like you, and we don't want to. We like ourselves. We love ourselves. We love our culture. We love our community. And are there things that we want to fix? Yes. Are there things we want to change? Yes. Are we moving towards that in our individual lives? Yes. Do we want to be like you? Hell no.
Amen. Listen. Now, I've noticed something, and I've been saying it for a while, that people seem to conflate race with political ideology. Right? I mean, like Joe Biden telling Charlemagne the God, "You're not black like me if you vote for Donald Trump." So you're not black like me, meaning you're not a liberal, because they equate liberalism with being black, and being conservative with being a racist, anti-black, right? So just recently, her name is Nicole, I can't get her last name. She did the documentary 1619 about slavery. She tweeted out, and her name is Ida Bay something on Twitter.
That there's a difference between being black and being politically black.
She said there's a difference between being politically black and racially black. And you know what? I was glad she said that because it explains who they are and how they see blackness. And people need to understand that when they're speaking for black people, they're speaking for people of a political mindset, not of a genetic makeup. And to me, it was like her telling on herself, because this was, I was speaking on this since like last year. And I was like, man, I'm starting to understand why they're calling me a coon and all this nonsense. It's because my politics is not in alignment with that. What are your thoughts on being politically black as opposed to being racially black?
There is no difference, and this is what scares the hell out of the black progressives. They can't win the black community because we're not Marxists. So you're not gonna put us in a position where we're gonna be advocating that we can't defend ourselves. Like, you're not gonna put us in a position where we're gonna stop advocating for our own wealth creation. We've been poor. We know it's fucking better having money. You're not gonna convince us otherwise. So it becomes, when you look at them, they are, and this, okay, I'll put it to you like this. I did an interview once with black progressive. It was two black progressives and me. And as we were talking, and I was trying to address kind of the perspective of looking from a street black guy, young, you know, he wants wealth, he wants to get out of the situation he's in. And that's what my mind was. As we started going through our conversation, both of these women told me, like, I come from a political family. My family is third generation political politics. You know, my family marched in the civil rights era. My family, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, they will never understand what I'm trying to get across. Like, I could sit here till I'm blue in the face. They're never going to understand it because to them, their worst fear is a microaggression of a white person touching their hair. I'm thinking about how do we stop our bodies from dropping on street corners. Like, it's not even an equivalent conversation. And they're never going to see it as such because that isn't a concern for them until the body drops. Once the body drops, then it can become a concern for them because they can use the body for their advantage. Me, I'm like, how the hell do we get the bodies to stop dropping? That is a conversation they cannot have. So when you look at it, what a political black is someone who doesn't actually address the black issues, only makes a political point out of it. So no solution comes from it. No actual policy forms itself. Nothing actually gets solved. And the funniest part about it is when they do offer a solution, their solution is always government. And I'm like, you just told me government was white system. You just freaking told me that the entire system is racist. You just told me that. But every single one of your solutions involves how to let government do it. Like, how the hell does that make sense? If you say police are killing black people, how can your next comment be, let's push for gun control so cops are the only one with guns? That sounds like the stupidest shit I've ever heard. But you can go through issue after issue, and every single solution leads us back to government. So we gotta take care of the teachers. The teachers are important. Didn't you just tell me there was a preschool to prison pipeline? What the hell are you talking about? Somebody has to run the pipeline. Is it not the teachers? Like, at some point, they're gonna get caught, and they're gonna have to decide us or government. And they're gonna choose government. And it's only gonna matter is if people like us are there to say, no, we have a solution that involves the individual. We have a solution that involves economics. It doesn't involve kissing white people's ass. It doesn't, like, those things that they tell you, that's not what it's about. And I have a record. You can go check my record if you think I'm lying about it. You know what I'm saying? My record speaks for itself. We have a different way of doing it. And it doesn't come from white people. It comes from Frederick Douglass. It comes from Booker T. Washington. It comes from Carter Woodson. It comes from Malcolm X. Our conservative was written before they took it. Because they start conservatism at Buckley, and they start conservatism at Reagan. And then, my conservatism was around way before Buckley, way before Reagan. So you have co-opted my history. You have taken my ideology. You have taken my perspective on how to grow a community, and you have bastardized it. So now I'm going to reclaim what is mine through proven historical context, and I'm not going to any longer let you put some imaginary metric on it. Like, it can be defined by my race, or it can be defined by my gender, or it can be defined by any other factor. It's going to be defined by the fact that you can't stop me. My grandma told me if I want it, you can't stop me. My daddy told me if I want it, you can't stop me. My mama told me if I want it, you can't stop me. So it's not coming from a white person telling me this. My black parents, my black family has told me that if I want it, you can't stop me. And that's how I'm going to operate.
And Sonny, you cannot be stopped. And I want to thank you for coming by and sitting down with us. And I'm going to share this with all my people. And I'm looking forward to being on your show again. Anytime you need me,
always.
Just call me. All
you
right?
know the platform's open for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.